Malti again here and hope you all are doing good. Welcome to the new episode of Level Up Podcast. I'm a product executive and a product leadership coach. And today, I'm really happy to have my friend Sumit Kumar Singh in this episode. Hi, Sumit. Welcome to this episode of Level Up Broadcast.
Hi, Malti. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited.
Yep, same here. Well, to starters, Sumit is a passionate product leader and definitely a product community champion. In his extensive experience, he has led a lot of B2C products, especially I think with the Times Group and with Microsoft. More recently, Sumit is building something very, very exciting, what he calls a interview club, which is very, very relevant, to the topic that I thought we should pick up with Sumit. Looking at, in today's market situation, where, there is probably a lot of product management managers who are looking to take up new jobs, and there are definitely companies who are looking to hire product managers. How do we get what each one of them is looking for, or how to ace in the huge set of product managers who are applying probably for the same job? And that is exactly what we are going to talk about in today's episode, both about hiring as well as applying for these product managers job. Now, before we get into the details, let's start with a quick introduction from Sumit. Hey, Sumit, over to you.
Hi, Malti. Thank you so much. You've already done the groundwork, right? So there's not much for me to say except for like maybe. I come with about 15 plus years of building products. I've built the last mile for Jabong. That was my first product, which was back in 2012. We were the first ones in Southeast Asia to really have our own e-commerce, logistics, mobile-based, and payments at the time of delivery, etc., etc. That kind of set the tone for my product journey. So travel happened, then payments happened with me. Then I moved to Times Internet, and I was building a gamification platform for them, which was called as Times Points. Moved a few geographies, in Jakarta, then Dubai. Right now building Interview Club, which is halfway based in India and halfway based in Dubai, purely because the problem statements that we are doing solving for are very pertinent to these geographies for now. Though it's a pretty global problem, right? So prior to this, at Microsoft, I was building Microsoft Teams, wherein I was responsible for the reactions and community. And there are a couple of other products like GroupMe that we were doing. The video and the audio calling inside of GroupMe was a part of the charter, but a separate team altogether. I was only looking for reactions and these communities within Microsoft Teams on desktop. And it's been one hell of a ride. It's been absolutely fantastic. Just looking at this, when you talk about scale in products, right? At times we talk about scales in say 5,000 users or 10,000 users, pan India users and things like that. When in Microsoft you talk about scale, you talk about inclusions, you talk about talk about accessibilities and those kind of stuffs. A simple a simple A/B test would typically move the mountain with say 5 million here and 5 million there, which is like the appreciation of scale that came with Microsoft was absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, happy to talk to you, and happy to share any insights that I may have learned during these last 15 years of building teams and building products, and whatever we can translate to the teams.
Yep, sure. Thank you so much, Sumit, for taking out the time and just, talking about scale. It took me back to my days at whether when I was building product at SAP Labs India or at Intuit and or at PayPal, right? I mean, we even with a 1% of controlled release, we are still talking about millions.
Correct. Which
So,
a lot of people are not able to kind of wrap their heads around with
right,
that kind of a scale, and what does it mean to build products which are loved by millions and billions
correct,
essentially. So yeah,
correct.
it's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, so let's jump into today's topic, Sumit, right? I mean, in the last decade or so, I would say product management has become a very aspirational function, right? And I see people from all levels, whether it is somebody with decade experience, fresh graduates getting out of college, they are very enthused about getting into product management, right? So there is a lot of value attached to the role. Uh, now, So that means there is definitely a very diverse kind of set of people across levels who are very interested in applying for these roles and getting into this function. So when we come on the other side, being a product leader, and of course, I would love you to also get your perspective as you are building interview club. Is that as a hiring manager, right? I mean, how do you kind of cut through that noise so that you are able to pick up the right product manager for the role? What matters the most? How do you make that hiring decision?
So that's an extremely important and extremely broad-based question. There are multiple levels to answering this, right? Let's try and understand what does a hiring manager need in his team, right? And currently, very pertinent to the the time that we have today, wherein people want to build AI muscle in their teams. Now, everybody wants AI product manager, but with all likelihood, as a hiring manager, I would not even understand what does it mean to have AI as a part of my product leadership. Like, I talk to so many leaders, they don't know what they want in the team themselves. They know that somebody would come, he would do this work, somebody would come, he would do that work. But can you spin that around as a JD that one person or two people or a team essentially would need to do? And if you really have to define the success of this team, what is that success going to look like? Right? And that's quite true for a lot of these startups and mid-level companies. Not as much in the larger tech companies, because the area of influence that you're trying to build in large tech companies is in itself very small, right?
Correct.
So that said, the hiring managers essentially need to first understand and communicate what do they want out of it. That's one part of it. Now, when I'm looking to hire people, my first my first sourcing of the resume comes from the product management community, purely because now people there's the other side of the story is that the way we've structured our interview processes versus the kind of job that people are doing, there is a world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
You would be asked a question such as improve WhatsApp for education. How would you improve Google Map? Build an app for, or build a mall, for example. How would you go about building a mall? These are classic design problems. Now, these design problems, nobody is taught these design problems in schools, as against Stanford or Harvard in US, wherein they enter and they start doing it from day zero. In India, we don't. Product management as a function itself is too new in our academia today at this point in time. And you're a leader, right? You're a teacher as well. We don't have these kind of conversations. We don't have these courses, which is where a lot of people who would want to do these courses are flourishing today. Great courses, no doubt about it. But are they really getting them ready for what the job is and getting them ready with what the role essentially is going to entail? Probably not, because these guys have not built anything. Just so it's like reading how to fire an AK-47 and really learning how to fire an AK-47. The difference is really that wide. So when I'm hiring someone, my first question is, have you built something? And if you've built something, what was your process? How did you go about building? How did you go about understanding customer? What what got you into the product discovery? What was the intent of building something? So amongst all the CVs, if there is someone who says that, okay, I've built ABC things, I just get them as the first one. That's the first cut for me. Now, within this, I would then look at if you've built something as a B2B, something as internet-based companies, or if you've done something which is more offline retail. Um, then, depending on what kind of role are we looking for, am I looking for someone in product management and really grow on the partnership size and growth? Then I'll probably look at somebody who's kind of seen a hyper growth kind of a thing and a scale kind of a thing, right? Versus somebody I really want a service oriented thing. Then someone who's looked at retail businesses, more hands-on businesses, is where I would typically, because the person essentially is now going to talk to a customer. He's going to be out in the world and really talking to the people, which is very different. Like, for example, there is Athena, right? The senior care services
Mhm.
product
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
If you've not lived with grandparents, if you've not interacted with senior citizens, how can I trust you with you going and being able to empathize with what is needed? unless you are trained for that. And then there are the entire class of these industry led courses and people who are actually doing that. So there are tons of flavors around it, right? So coming back to how to answer you, right? First cut is to go with my community and ask for referrals for folks who really built it and done. Second, I would not go on Naukri.com and source CVs. I would not go on IMJobs.com and source CVs. That is a clear no for me. I would not do that. The worst case I would typically do if I'm not getting something is I'll go on LinkedIn and probably, ask for CVs. And that's it. But my first hiring will happen from my referrals. And that's really the reason why product hiring today is becoming very, very challenging for a lot of people who are not part of these kind of communities,
Yeah.
because they are not able to source the right kind of people. CV is another aspect of it, but getting the right kind of people who've done some stuff, who are passionate about solving a problem with the right kind of intention, is really what I look for when I'm when I'm hiring for these kind of talents. CV is
Yeah.
the last part.
Yeah, but I completely resonate with you, right? I remember a couple of years back when I had put on one of my JDs for which I was hiring. Within the next, I think, 3 hours, I had 300 resumes, right? And the recruiter came and told me that, you know, just screening them through it's a task, right? I mean, you have the
Of
ATSs
course,
and all that, but we found actually less than 10% of resumes were actually relevant, right?
correct,
So imagine the amount of effort that it takes through to kind of scan through. So
correct.
yes, I mean, I would definitely do very, very similar, go through referrals and within my circles to kind of make get started with those decision making.
Correct. And the worst part there is, Malti, that the ATS, the 90% rejection that it would have done, it is quite likely that some amazing folks who should have
Yeah,
ideally been on your team could not
right,
really make through because for some reason their CV was not ATS friendly. The ATS probably did not really understand what the need of the job is, and probably it was not configured properly.
right.
So it is quite possible that that happened, and we see that happening as well. Like when I was hiring for teams in Microsoft, and we did a lot of product days. We did source in a lot of CVs there. Some amazing guys could not get selected purely because they did not answer the questions in that right template,
Hmm.
right? And this 95% rejection rate, right? There's a 95% any which ways filtering on ATS. Then there is a 95% rejection rate. Imagine a hiring leader takes 9 months to just fill one role, which they could have easily done it via communities or otherwise. And this is really the problem that we are trying to solve in our interview club. That hey, Amazon has a very different interview pattern. Uber has a different pattern. Google, Meta, Microsoft, they all have a different pattern. While they all call us product management loops. What to say where? How will that loop gonna expand for you? How will it consume you? How do you really build your own personality? What kind of right jargons to say? Nobody mentors you that. And that's really what interview club is looking forward to bring in. And I've been mentoring before interview club eventually became a reality, but I've now done more than like 300 sessions with folks in last 2 years roughly. And I'm very happy to say at least 30 people of that 300 plus have actually cracked the rules.
Yeah.
So just the timely interventions with the right kind of messaging and telling them how to solve it, how to really go over designing a case study, how to even say, tell me about yourself. I hear tell me about yourself when people start with say, my name is ABC, I come from here. By the way, hamare shehar mein we have we have tons of these oranges and markets, and then the essay starts from my school to the market in the neighborhood of the school. Right?
Yeah.
It is challenging that even senior leaders are making those kind of mistakes. But tell me
Yeah.
about yourself is anything but about yourself.
During that time, how do you make those decisions? What are the things, what are those signals that you look out for to differentiate between, let's say, an average PM or a good PM and a great PM for making your hiring decisions?
This is interesting. See, first off, you have your CV any which ways, right? And of course, everyone knows that nobody looks at a CV more than 5 to 6 seconds
Mm.
of of your time. That itself is kind of bad and reflects pretty negatively on all the leaders, essentially. But it is what it is, right? Uh, the first question that I typically ask, of course, is that tell me about yourself. And the moment I feel that it is not going in the right direction, I interject the person. I talk to him in a very direct question. I ask him, tell me something which is not on your CV.
Okay.
Like, and that kind of, that oftentimes shakes these people off. Tell me something which is extraordinary that you've done. Tell me something which you've done which you are held responsible and you're kind of proud of deep down inside that you've done it. Maybe you've hacked some system, you've done some crazy dance show on some kind of a thing, but really tell me, what did you do as a part of your life? Because this is just one, your job is just one very, very small part of your life. There is so much other things, so many other things that you've done, and you're sum total of so many other experiences. Did you do a solo trip? Did you do a backpacking trip? What did you learn there? Right? Extracurricular for me is a big one. For someone who's always been a 10 pointer and 9 pointer, that person is going to be probably be a very difficult person to manage for me in a product role. He could be a great guy in consulting, he could be a great guy in marketing or otherwise, but when it comes to product management, someone who's got high ego and high academics, he's a red flag for me. Very difficult from, particularly for me to manage. There could be other personality traits who may want to kind of hire these kind of people and give them on a job on their own. But from a cultural standpoint, if you're not able to bring in fun at work and you're all serious, then you're not nurturing creativity. That's where that's my perspective to it, and I could be completely wrong from the traditional way of looking at building organizations and building organized psychologies. That's how I feel. So there's no right or wrong answer there. Coming back to hiring, definitely look at extracurricular, talk about stuff that's not on your CV, and if the other person is actually opening up and being honest about the whole thing in next 10 minutes. If the other person is faking, even after 10 minutes of me asking these kind of questions, then he's a no.
Hmm.
If he's honest, if he's able to really, if we are able to break that ice and really have a conversation, then definitely we can look at spending the next 50 minutes together and exploring the realm of the problem spaces that we may want to solve. See, at the end of the day, this is my personal theory. When you're meeting the person for the first time, anyone, there are only two options. You can either be a stranger again or be friends,
Right.
right? There is no middle path. If you're still leaving at a middle path, then I can be sure that you're not meeting again at all.
Right.
So if you go with the mindset that, yes, I would want to be friends with the person, I want to really understand who they are, hear their stories, talk to them about what they're going through today, that's essentially the first culture fit for me. So I typically take the first round and the last round when it comes in my team. So my first round is typically fly, no fly. Talk to me about what you've done, some part of resume, some part of life, some part of everything. Why do they want to do this job? What's exciting about product management, etc., etc. Then the traditional loops that we typically have: do a resume round, do a product round, do this, do that, and because the person also needs to then work with the team, and then the final round again, wherein I change the gears from a ally and a friend to now a manager. That's when I'll ask more interview specific questions, more hard hitting questions as how do you do stakeholder management? What's your philosophy of what's the cadence typically that you follow? How do you do strategies and things like that? So those kind of questions come when I'm talking in. And to my initially, I thought it was I used to be surprised when people would, bring in the same kind of energy layer later, and they are able to. They're actually very successful in the last rounds with me, and the energy levels are amazing. But later on, I realized that it's by design because in the first round itself, the the ice barriers was broken, and there was so much of trust that was built this person consistently performed at the top of its performance meter. And by the time they come and meet me again, they are very excited to talk about all these 4 rounds that they have done. They're very excited to talk about what they did not do right in the interview, and be very candid and open about it. If people are still faking at the end of it, then that because you've already collected the feedback, right?
Correct. Correct. No, I think
So
that's a very, very, very fair point, right? I mean, helping them to open up, being their authentic self, and product management is such a, how do I say, cross-functional role that to be able to open up helps us to understand how good a team player that person is, and help
correct,
them to kind of open up and talk about some of their experiences, which could be both success and failures, right? As long as you're learning from those failures and are ready
correct.
to not repeat them, I think that. So I think, yeah, I mean, some of those aspects which you spoke about, from the first round to the last round, I think those are some amazing things for, I would say, hiring managers to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that people may not have enough time. It This process of doing the first round and the last round could be time taking, consuming, etc., etc. And some people even tell me that, hey, you're putting in so much effort in building in just one resource, right? But it's not about just one resource. You're actually building a team. You're building a culture. You get one resource, one right resource in your team, and he can actually set a lot of things right for you,
Correct.
which is often overlooked at.
Some of those aspects which you spoke about, from the first round to the last round, I think those are some amazing things for, I would say, hiring managers to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that people may not have enough time. It This process of doing the first round and the last round could be time taking, consuming, etc., etc. And some people even tell me that, hey, you're putting in so much effort in building in just one resource, right? But it's not about just one resource. You're actually building a team. You're building a culture. You get one resource, one right resource in your team, and he can actually set a lot of things right for you,
Correct.
which is often overlooked at,
Yeah.
right?
No, I think that's important, right? It's a very important investment that we need to
Yeah,
make as a leader. And I think
yeah,
one of the points which you said, giving that confidence of cultural fit, both for you as a hiring manager and for that prospective candidate, I think has to come together. It's like as part of that jigsaw puzzle, they both need to
correct,
come together. Only that
correct,
person feels completely invested upon the next round of interviews and
correct.
looks forward to being selected, and you make sure that you are investing so much of time so you get the right candidate who could be spending next few years in that organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree 100% on that. And
Yeah.
from a candidate's perspective, they are, you know, we often talk about this on LinkedIn. You've read a lot of things that people often leave a bad manager and not a bad job, right? When you're investing so much time and you are investing in a person to understand their story, they also feel trusted. They feel nice about it. They feel belonged. And
Correct.
if they feel belonged, they're looking forward to be a part of the team and to be able to do things. We often overlook this aspect of being belonged. We just overlook a lot of these things when you're building teams, purely because we just want to get features out day in and day out, and it's there has to be a human element to it. Is what
Absolutely.
what
Relation.
my personal take is.
Correct. No, those relationships and humans. I remember one of my manager when she hired me, and then this became like a tagline for all of us in the team was that when you are working here, we want this to be one of the best phases of your careers, right?
Okay.
So I think, and everybody has to work towards that, right? It's not only the manager, it's the entire team, it's the person. So yeah, to make it a reality.
Yep.
So I think that keeping in that spirit, Sumit, I mean, this is an evolving space, and with especially building digital products, the space is like literally evolving every day, every week. So what are the kind of trends or changes do you anticipate in product management hiring, and how do you plan to adapt?
This is interesting. One, of course, the talk of the town is AI, right? Uh, as a so till now we've been talking about should PMs know technology. Should they know how to code, how to write their own queries and things like that? I think the same flavor is changing. The narrative is changing now to saying you should know what AI is. You should know how to talk to an AI. A lot of people think of AI as, oh, we'll have to now do modelings. We need to learn Python and ML. We have to really understand and really do all those deep data science. So, what will a data science guy do, or what will a technology guy do if I'm doing everything? Um, so that's where, when we talk within the leadership groups, often here there is one thing which is very common that's coming across is that as a PM, you should know what use cases you're solving. Don't worry about the model. Somebody is already doing a lot of these modelings any which ways. And especially in product management, unless and until you're in an extremely niche product area, half of them are around funnels, half of them are around engagements, and then the right kind of click-through rates, payments, success, etc., etc. And then where AI can actually help you is decision making by getting the right kind of data and then really just synthesizing the data and those stories for you. If you're able to do that, that's something which is going to be very, very fruitful for you. Now, what I mean there is that you should know what are the different models essentially there are, right? What's the difference between a Bard and a Llama versus Gemini versus a Falcon? Now, there are different, and then of course the GPTs of the world, right? What you should also know is how to talk to an engine, or talk to a machine essentially, because if you don't give the right kind of prompts to the engine, they can probably give you any kind of an answer. So really contextualizing it for the machine to be able to say that this is the response for you. For example, I've been using ChatGPT to get a lot of my travel itineraries. So if I just ask that, hey, is Hong Kong a good place to travel with kids? I'll get a response, yes, Hong Kong is an amazing place to go to. And by the way, there are 10 of these places without even telling me what is the weather. But if I just change the narrative to saying that, hey, assume you're a travel advisor. I want to travel with my family, with kids. Advise me if March is a great time to go to Hong Kong, keeping all weather conditions in check. And will I be able to do everything in 4 days, keeping kids friendly? So that narrative, when you're doing that prompt for that machine, changes the response that you can expect, right? That itself will become an extremely important skill set for a lot of people going forward, because your PRDs can then come directly, your user flows can come directly from these kind of UI tools. What kind of a prompt do you really tell that machine to generate the kind of finesse you want and the kind of refinement that you want in your designs, in your PRDs, in your North Star metrics, etc., is essentially going to be the game changer. So a good PM tomorrow will be someone who's really amazing at talking to these machines as one. The second part is, of course, because you'll be good at talking to the machines, you'll be able to talk to the machines to understand data, understand trends, understand the synthesis, understand the gaps, and then ask the machine again, hey, how can I improve it? So the prompt engineering piece is very, very critical, which will actually, it's a bottom up. So anybody in the bottom essentially are coming with a lot of these insights. But at the top layer, the CXOs also need to understand the changing realm of managing organizations. You'll be surprised to know that interview club, we're just two of us. That's it,
Right. And you're
right?
leveraging all the AI tools to get your
We
things
are
done.
we are leveraging AI to the core of it, right from the minute notes to getting the posters to the content to the interviews to synthesizing 5 different questionnaires and getting a theme out of it. We are leveraging AI we are an AI first organization, and that's what we say. We are building from India for the world, and we already have more than 300 mentors on the platform. We have this is how the organizations will change going forward. They're allowing us to pivot and do experimentation in such nimble forms that we can we can take a shape, or we can launch a service in less than 2 days,
Correct.
which otherwise would take you a lot of time, including the research part of it, right? and asking people. And community dot definitely helps us there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, AI has been a game changer in the, I would say, every realm of
Oh yeah,
life right now. Every vertical, every horizontal function is undergoing a
get it.
change. Some of them probably may no longer exist in the coming years or so. But
Correct,
I think staying on top of it, acquiring those skill set, leveraging those toolkits to stay relevant is a very, very important space that companies are looking for in the candidates that they hire, right? So
correct. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, Sumit, let's kind of flip on to the other side, right? I mean, we kind of spoke a lot of things about what are hiring managers expecting from these candidates, right? And of course, the focus area, for an entry level PM versus a product manager level PM1, PM2 versus a
yeah,
senior PM or a principal PM, as it evolves, becomes different, right?
correct, correct,
Now, when you look out there, there are a lot of content, there is a lot of course material available, I would say, at a starting level, early years of a product manager. But as
correct,
you move up, there is very limited content. There are not too many people out there who talk about, and that is where, for example, even when I do my product leadership coaching, is where I get people that, okay, now I'm stuck in my senior product manager level for so many years now. How do I get out of this? So
correct.
when somebody is kind of aspiring to the move to the next level, whether it is in the same organization or whether they are interviewing, what do you think are the hiring managers looking for? What are some of these focus areas for these mid-level PMs who are looking to move now into the next circle, that they need to work on, that they should be prepared, where they are being closely watched?
Definitely, high ownership is something which is, you know, aspired for.
Okay,
That's so that the person can then own one area, one charter, and then drive with it. Now, oftentimes, what is often not communicated as a part of the JD is that a two-way stakeholder management is also very important here. So while you own it, you also have to keep the person updated about what's happening. Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. A typical, a large tech, we talk about a weekly one-on-ones. In my experience, they don't help. We need a much deeper engagement with the management or with your manager to be able to think and do whiteboarding sessions with them. Because at the end of the day, if you're the only one who's thinking and you take extremely tactical inputs from the manager, at the end of the day, when you present your story, he would be like, oh my god, what just happened? Because I said this and I said that, which was extremely tactical, right? But to be able to align at a strategic level as well for the North Star that you're both looking forward to do is very, very important. And I think that's something you should totally align your North Star in a joint exercise with your manager, that this is what I am looking forward to do and this is what I want to achieve in next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. And you should have those quarterly goals to it. How you're progressing can be done on a one-on-one basis, but whiteboarding sessions, you should totally have a half an hour session at least 3 times in a week. So that when you're doing a one-on-one session with him, and on some week, he would feel, oh, this is a surprise to me. What just happened? I was like, yeah, but we've been meeting every week, and I've been telling you every week what we're doing. Why are you surprised now? Oh, I didn't pay attention to it. It's too late to have those conversations. You need to have this regular feedback with the managers to be able to do, and which is where the hiring managers essentially are looking for ownership, which is often written, stakeholder management, which is not written, and being able to understand the industry, where are we work. That's something also which is often written, often not written in the JDs. They say that having a domain expertise is good. Domain expertise is one part of it, but what's happening in the industry is another part of it. You could be a great fintech payment gateway guy. You really understand the tech, how it works. But if you don't know where UPI is eating your market, how the QR code is eating your market, then you're probably at a loss,
correct.
right? So you need to understand the industry part, which is not written often, but the domain expertise is something which is written. So be able to dissect these 2 3 points is very important. And then any which ways, the 6 parameters that typically a PM has, which is problem solving, customer empathy, data analytical, system design, and guesstimation, sizing. All of these parameters can then move up and down depending on your setup. As a data PM, you would typically be looking more AI first and the kind of models there are, so that you're then able to help people. As an API PM, the challenges could be very different there. So are you talking to the right kind of customers? Are you talking to the B2B folks on a regular basis? And synthesizing those insights and telling to your manager. Oftentimes what happens is you're either talking to your manager or you're talking to the businesses. And that's where the whole week goes. So you end up wasting too much time with the managers or with the markets, but need some time on the calendar wherein you're telling the manager that this is what the market is asking for. That's where the alignment happens. That's where you think together. And if you're able to do that, I think that really opens up the communication two ways, and you're then able to kind of move forward.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I would say as much diligence as anybody puts together with their products, right? You need to also take your career as a product, right? And
Correct.
constantly be very diligent about it, that who are these stakeholders who can enable that growth to happen? What is the trajectory that I am aspiring to go on? And
Correct.
what is needed for me to get there? And as you said, whether it is getting those weekly one-on-ones, where aligning your own aspirations with the organizational objectives, and to see that how can you influence that. I think those are some very, very critical ingredients for anybody to move from one level to the other level.
Correct. And the interesting part is the magic really doesn't happen on those one-on-one meetings. No, the magic happens in the otherwise coffee conversations, in the otherwise you're catching up with person, you're shown and you're seen in the right kind of discussions. You're probably catching up with the person when he's gone out for a coffee break and you're just talking about it, or you're talking about a game, you're talking about some other problem. That's where the magic really happens. At the right time and the right point, this manager will then tell you, oh, by the way, I have this another assignment for you, would you be interested?
Right.
And that sets the tone for the next career move that you have.
Yeah. I think both of them, in fact, that reminds me, very recently I was, coaching one of my mentees. And that's what I said, the minute you get into a room and you tell your manager, I have something to discuss about my plan, there is some kind of a pressure that already builds up. So try to have that casual, go for a walk, go for a coffee. But the idea is to keep the atmosphere lighter so that it doesn't feel like, okay, another task to be done, but it is about your career. So you need that relaxed mindset, both on your side as well as on the leader on the other side,
Correct.
so that you both are looking at it with a very human element as well. And, you're not ignoring that part. So I'm completely on the same lines as well. But, just going a little bit more deeper on the other side, especially when you're applying in a job in another company, again, you have a limited time window, or maybe they would have given you a case study to do, kind of a thing, right? What is the best, some of the tips that you think would do in order to showcase problem solving skills or analytical skills? Because I think for a PM, these are some of the core skills of their craft, right? So any tips you would have in that perspective?
See, is one exercise that I typically ask a lot of my mentees to do. And it just elevates your product thinking and design thinking to the next level. I often ask them to go on a Play Store or an App Store, whichever is a favorite, and look at one category, whichever category that you want to pick, be it personal finance, travel, journaling, anything, any category. Pick one category, download the top 5 apps in that particular category, and for the next 1 week, play with that. Play with those apps. And keep a journal of how the onboarding happened, how the account creation happened, what problem are the apps solving for. At the end of the week, you would realize that, hey, which app is cognitively heavy, cognitively light, which is a good design, which is not a good design, which one's a lazy loading of account creation versus which is more top heavy and less, towards the end. And you do this exercise for 8 weeks. Every week, pick up a new category, download 5 apps, go through the entire thing, and then keep a journal of that, right? At the end of that 2 weeks, 2 months, you would have played with 40 apps across 8 teams. You would know which app was the best onboarding experience, which app has the least onboarding experience, which has the bad design, which has the best design, which one do you want to go back, which you remember in terms of the problem, which one was so bad that you still remember, and you something which you don't want to do. But if you do this for this 8 weeks, when you enter into an interview and you're talking to this person and they throw a problem to you, then you can always say, hey, by the way, this one app is doing something amazing. They have this ABC, they have the onboarding journey like this, and the other app had this amazing design wherein they have this gamification and the other kind of hooks that they kind of want me to go back. We can bring that in just by talking about 3 of these or 4 of these different apps as a part of the narrative of the problem that you're solving for. Will tell me enough that you know your game.
Yeah, that's a
And
that's a brilliant tip. Sorry, go on.
so yeah, that's something which I often ask my people to do, and especially folks who are looking forward to break into product management or elevate their career or think that, oh, we are not able to kind of network and stuff. Convert these weekly journals that you've created into Medium post and make a summary on LinkedIn, tagging all of those 5 apps, tagging their CEOs of those 5 apps, tagging their product teams of those 5 apps. So by the time your 8 weeks happen, you would have tagged 40 of these CEOs, 40 product leaders, 40 applications. Your profile views would have gone up by at least 1 million users.
Yeah,
You know,
that is correct. In fact, I remember hiring one of the PMs in my one of the companies where I worked for, and I was asking, how did you enter into the company where he was working? So he said exactly the same thing. He said, I was doing a product teardown on that company, and I found like there were a bunch of these gaps. And all I did was that he found the email ID of the founder, and he wrote a note to him saying that, hey, you know what, in this product, these are the things that you could do better. And all he
correct,
is that in the next week he hears from the founder saying that, will you be interested to join us?
correct. It's today, right? Getting a job is more of a pull game rather than a push game. You really have to attract the jobs.
Correct.
So the kind of messaging that you want to do, it's like universe conspiring, right? That's a Om Shanti Om famous dialogue also. That the kind of work you want to do, the kind of messages you want to put out in the market is how the market is essentially going to respond. So you solve some interesting problems, let the world know about it, and create a personal brand around it. This interesting problems will come to you for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think there are some really great things to do, and I think it kind of very positively and confidently will attribute when you are making those conversations during your interview, right? So, if we want to look at the other side, Sumit, what are some of the common mistakes that aspiring PMs should avoid when they are interviewing?
Aspiring PMs and the candidate seat, right?
Basically, candidates could be at any level. What are some of the things that they should avoid doing during the interviews?
Um, Trying too hard to impress the hiring manager.
Mm.
Oh man, I cannot tell you when they come, they try so hard to impress. They're not themselves at all. And for people who are talking, like people such as yourself who've done over 1,000 interviews by now in the career,
Easy.
you're able to tell BS at a distance, right from the time when you switch on the camera and you come on the camera and you greet the other person, right? You can tell how good this interview is going to be or the discussion is going to be.
Correct.
So, and then the other times when I've faced a lot is that people try too hard to fit everything in a framework. Frameworks are nice, they are good, till the time you don't tell the other person that it's a framework. The best framework approach is when the frameworks don't show,
Correct.
right? But if you're telling them, hey, this is how I'm going to do, this is what I'll do, then you've lost. It becomes too transactional, and that's something which, as an aspiring PM, you should be taking your chances. You should be really telling people what's not in the CV and what all really value adds, the big value adds that you can bring Because and see, another thing which they need to understand and which often people don't talk about, and I don't know why, is that junior PMs are hired in teams to bring energy. As you age in an organization, as you go up, your joy is dead, your energies are dead. All that you need on a Friday evening is to just get out of the hell of an office, go get beers and get drunk, meet some friends outside office, and probably, just have some fun. A lot of times we look forward to bringing these young ideas and young people to really energize the whole space. But a leader cannot really get that out if the leader himself is sitting like, oh, I love my life. My life is so exciting. I spend like, 80 hours of my time in the office. I love my job. It's like, really? You love your job and that's how you respond? That's not how you respond if you love your job. Right? I love Sairi for that matter. I mean, she is such a hardworking lady. And she really loves her work. You talk to her at any point in time. She is so on top of things and really talking so energetically about the problems that she's solving. So I think I learned some of this from her. And then, of course, Gautam Sinha was my ex-CEO at Times Internet. Amazing guy, again, very, very energetic. Again, coming back, like, how do you really build that culture is how you walk the talk. If you're energetic, then the world around you would be energetic. And that's something which these junior folks should totally, do. Don't try to impress the hiring manager. Be yourself, they'll be impressed.
Yeah, be your authentic self.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just to this thing, right? I mean, as a leader, as a product leader, especially, you are supposed to be the future teller. So if you don't have that enthusiasm and if you don't have that excitement and energy, you are
Correct.
expected to take the whole company, on that path which you have laid out, the aspirational path. So that energy has to flow down from top to down as much as from bottom to
Correct.
up. So
Absolutely.
yeah, completely on that. So Sumit, what would be one teachable point of view that you would like to leave our audience with?
Teachable. Um, Define teachable. There can be so many things. Teaching could be education. Teaching could also mean learning. So here's my product. The product manager and me getting a little excited about the definition of teachable.
Sure. I would say it's something that you have learned and you think can be translated and taught to the next generation of product managers.
Oh, I think one thing which is becoming very, very critical is to separate the signal from the noise, which is where being really hands on with these product design case studies, irrespective of the fact if you are preparing for an interview or not preparing for an interview, I would encourage everyone to solve at least one case study every week. You do this, and then over a period of the muscle will keep building, and that starts to reflect in the kind of questions you're asking in the work. You may be given a problem statement, and then you just jump in and start to boil the ocean. Don't do that. Be specific, be focused, and learn to say no. I used to be a very energetic, high enthu kid when I joined the workforce back at Jabong. I would have an answer. I would ideally want to have an answer mostly at all times. And that was one of the biggest feedback that I received, that even if you have an answer, don't tell them. Take a moment. And more often than not, say that I'll come back to you with an answer. Unless if that's something which is directly related to your current work that you're on right now. If it's not that, then say that, okay, I'll come back to you with an answer. Give me 10 minutes or give me 5 minutes. If it's a corridor conversation that just happened. Unless if it's a meeting, then if it's a meeting, go as bloody prepared as you can for a JE into IIT round. So any data that gets thrown at you, you should have absolute backing of what you're talking about, what's going, what's not going. The complete case study should be on your fingertips. You cannot go into a meeting unprepared.
Yeah, no, that's
These
very right. I mean, you need to know your story, and you need to continue to sharpen your saw or axe or sword or whatever it
correct,
is, your craft, right? Your toolkit
correct,
all the time. And that is where I would say, as a product leader, you can also earn respect, your
Correct.
credibility, right? I cannot
Correct.
say I built this product 10 years back, and whatever were the frameworks or thought process we applied, we could apply the same things today. The world is changing
Correct.
every now and then, so
Absolutely.
continuing to be on
Absolutely.
top of it is very, very critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are some amazing, nuggets of wisdom, that I call it, Sumit, that you have just shared with the listeners. And I really cannot thank you enough for taking the time out and being here, and sharing all those nice things that you share with your mentees. And I'm sure many of them are listening into this. So thank you for everything that you do, as a community champion, mentor, inspiring the next generation of product managers to excel in whatever they are doing. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much, Malti. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having this opportunity to talk to you and share my whatever learnings that I've done. I'm not sure if they're the best, if they're the top. I'm not even considering myself as one of the top leaders. There are some amazing guys out there who've done much better work. But happy to share.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you, but you don't have to be so modest and humble.
No, no, no. I mean, this is what the reality is. This is really what the crux of the matter is. I wish I could have done more. Uh, so,
I'm sure there is more coming your way, building interview club, and I wish you and Tarun all the best for that.
thank you so much.